thanks for tuning in again and watching this bus engine come to hopefully completion soon. This video you're going to see me change this bell housing, and then I'll explain why, I'm sure several times. And I also made a mistake that in the long run I think turns out to be not a mistake, but thank God I caught it due to the video. So hang in there and you'll see what that is. Thanks. I'm going to pull this off. The block supported with the wood under the block, so this whole thing should come off. Get this clean, get it primered, get this end off, then I got to support this block. And then I can put power steering pump where it was originally, the compressor where it was originally, and I'm going to not put this gear on, but I'll save it and take the gear off, put that mount back on and make a plate over it, and just seal that off, so that way everything is exactly the way it was when when this engine was in this bus. Or if I ever put this DN50 alternator back on, the mount's there. Well, I got a few more bolts, and hopefully this thing comes off, or it's probably going to fall over and knock the other motor over. Which I hope isn't the case. But I'm going to verify that it's sitting on the wood on the block, and that when I pull these big bolts out of here, these two bolts, it doesn't go anywhere. Every other bolt's out, except for this. There's one right here, but I don't think that holds anything. So I want to get this thing off and get it outside so I can steam clean it and get it ready for paint. Since I put the rear main seal on the other engine, I'm going to try to walk that one back out. There's copper gaskets on all these bolts around the top. I'm going to have to get new gaskets. This is the hose mount. So I'm going to clean this up and then clean these edges off and everything. Everything I'm doing, I'm trying to make it a little nicer, at least user friendly for myself. I'm thinking, as of now, that this is off. It's holding it. I don't see any other bolts. So I'm going to get a dead blow hammer, give it a few taps and see if anything moves. And if not, I'm going to pull that other bolt. It could be just the seal. There's a bolt here on the plate, and there's one there. Look like they're both like 9/16, so 3/8 bolt maybe. So right here, there's a bolt there, and I don't think it's attached to the bell housing. So I'm just gonna pull those two bolts out on the sides, and then see what happens. So this is the bolt here. I'm gonna pull this line up. Man, this thing never leaking oil, even when it's completely drained. So I think that's the last bolt. I don't really see any other bolts, unless there's some on the bottom of the bell housing, which I don't know. There's nothing. There can't be anything there. So I'm just going to try to tap this. It sounds like. So I'm going to see if I can get a scraper in between. Just break the seal. I'm just working my way around this seal here. I'm not driving this hard to mar anything. There's a couple spots where it just goes right in, so there's plenty of gasket material. Anywhere it feels really tight, I'm just making sure there's no bolts. See, that sounds like a bolt. And this sounds like something's holding that. So maybe I'll pull these two bolts real quick and see where we're at, and see if that plate comes with it. It definitely feels tight around here. It sounds tight down at the bottom. So that one in here may be attached to that plate. why those motors leak so much damn oil. There's a gasket and a plate everywhere. See what happens, and then I'm gonna pull it some. Okay. Give it a little tap again, see what happens. There we go. That was it. Live and learn. So that's it. Ay, ay, ay. So now I gotta do the other engine. I'm gonna take this outside and steam clean it. I'm gonna wipe it down, get all the oil out. I'm gonna take that seal out. I'm gonna practice on this seal so I don't bend that seal. And I ordered a new gasket from US Coach for this here. So God knows when this was off last. I guess 96, I think. I think the date on the motor. Somebody used a hell of a lot of RTV on it. So there was these 3 bolts here that had sealant on them. This was the other bolt that was holding it to the block. I hope to God that this plate back here is the same on that motor. I don't see anything different, majorly different about it. Let me wipe this down. I'm going to take it outside. I'm going to take that seal out. That's not big at all. So I could probably do that with the new seal on the other one and not damage it. Because I'm a cheapskate. I'll probably pay for it later. The weird thing is on these blocks, most of the time when you put a seal in, there's a shoulder to stop the seal. This one just stops flush. I'm going to wash this off. Alright, here's the game plan for this part. I already filmed a video of me taking the back half of this motor off. And since then I sandblasted, my brother sandblasted it, I primered and painted it. And it's been sitting on a bench in the background for a while. I made a plate to cover where the alternator goes, and I'm going to finish that up too. But as of right now, I'm just going to take this whole back half off. I needed to move my jack stands that were under these mounts I made on the wood to chalking up the wood under the block and not damaging the crank or pinching anything. So right now it's sitting strictly on the block, and since it's chalked up under the block, I can put the motor mounts back on and put the I-beam in the back, move the jack stands further out, and I already put the front motor mount plate on. So I could put the front I-beam on as well, and then the motor will be supported like way out here on the sides, because then I feel a little more comfortable laying underneath of this thing. Because God forbid it fell one way or another. God, it would kill me. I'll start taking this off. Hopefully I got everything I need. A couple of these are 12-point heads. I'm going to try to keep all the bolts together. One thing good about filming this stuff is that I won't lose track of I'm unbolting. But I'm going to pull this other 9/16 or 3/8 bolt out. 9/16, I always usually say the head size, not the bolt size, but whatever. Let me get that out. Oh my God. So that's it. That's all the bolts. All the bolts. So we're going to give it a little tap. I'm going to get my dead blow hammer. Hopefully it pops right off. The other one kind of did. Oh, you know what? There's 2 more bolts. I did this last time. This is exactly what I did on the other motor. There's 2 little bolts here. I'll probably wind up forgetting them. I'll have to look at the videos. These are going in the opposite direction. I've never had paint successfully stay on a bolt head unless you paint them after they're on. You know what, there's a bolt in here. There's a bolt right there, I bet. to me. You feel it's loose around that one spot. Yep, what it is. What it is. It'll come right off now. What a dumbass. Maybe I should pull it off. The other one didn't have this spot. So this bolt's like the three in the center of the shoulder. That's it. Yeah, hear the sound. You hear it was tight right in that spot. Looks like a great seal. So now I gotta clean that up and I gotta get that seal out. So if you look at those two housings, that's the difference. So this is where the alternator mounts on the bus and the power steering. And then this one has this extra port. This isn't large enough. It doesn't have this U in the bell housing. So it's easier just to switch it. Okay. I used a Scotch Brite wheel and cleaned this off, and then I blew it off with an air gun. And now I'm just wiping it down with a wax and grease remover. I did the same on the original Bellhousing here, because this had primer on it. So I'm going to get some sealant, and I'll put that on there, put the gasket on, put a thin coat of that on there, put a thin coat of RTV on this, and put them together. Hopefully it'll never leak. It'll probably leak between this plate and the block. Told me to be careful with this one because it had a rip in it, but I'm using this stuff anyway. This is the right stuff. Okay, so now I'm gonna RTV the back of the block, throw some bolts in it. Then I gotta get the book out and look up the end cover, the bell housing. I think it was 50 pounds or something. Depends on the bolt size. Seal looks okay. So I threw some bolts in some places where covers go and stuff. just to squeeze the RTV down and the gasket in place. I just ran them in, and then I'm going to put this one on so I can throw these bolts in and glue this down, and that'll squeeze the top half. So then all the RTV can squeeze out, and I'll wipe it off. So this is the point in this video where I make the mistake of putting this on in hopes to squeeze the RTV down to make it bolt down evenly. And what you'll see in the clip is doing that, feeling like I was rushed. I put the RTV on and put it down. I should have never made it permanent, but I believe that everything happens for a reason. And thank God I screwed up and I forgot that ring. And then this ring, I forgot this ring, which goes here. And I had to take it apart and ruin that gasket, which is fine. I got it cleaned up. I don't have this cleaned up. But anyway, when I took that apart and I went back in the video, I realized when I put this shaft and this tooth in here to drive the power steering pump, I only put it in temporarily. And luckily, looking at the videos, I realized I temporarily put that in. And I'm just gonna put this in here temporarily. And these bolts were loose. So I had since torqued them down. Now I just have to clean this up. That's why the rags are in there. And I could put this ring in and put that bracket back on and mount all that stuff. So everything happens for a reason. It's not torqued down yet, but I just snubbed it up with the impact gun, and then I'm gonna go get the torque wrench. But I want to trim this off here and then caulk that up. So this is the piece that was missing from the other Bellhousing, which is this adapter. I was getting ready to put these brackets on this Bellhousing, and I realized these holes were blocked up solid. So this is sand from sandblasting. So before I do all of that, I'm just going to use this awl to break up the sand and then vacuum these out. So these are all 7/16. I think the ones in the heads are too. And somebody had 3/8 in them. Those were definitely the bolts that came out. I can't imagine that they were even tight. I'm just re-chasing them. So I'm gonna have to run upstairs and grab 2 more for the heads. Still a little sand in there. This goes here. And these are the proper bolts. So you can see there's a big difference. I got them a little longer too. Let's see how far in we can go. I don't think I have any shorter ones. If I do, they're Allen head maybe. Yeah, that's not gonna work. Test run. That's how close it goes. Same depth. Alright, so we need shorter bolts. And I can't believe, for the life of me, that that's what came out. This is what came out of this block. And I didn't put them in there. So I'll see if I can, maybe I'll find the ones from that motor. They might be laying down there. I got a bunch of bolts. If not, I'll go look upstairs, see if I have new ones. Right bolts. Wrong bolts. We're gonna put these in here. Once this motor is like ready to go in, I know everything's running, then we'll worry about touch-ups with paint and everything. I like painting everything initially. Like the touch-up bolt heads and stuff is nothing. So these brackets will definitely be holding the way they were intended. Should have ran this one in first. I got it. 5/8 socket. 5/8, 5/8, 5/8. 5/8. Sometimes. Yeah, it's fancy, huh? Try to run that in. If not, I'll do it with a wrench. Let me go get a wrench. I just want to suck this into the block here before I crank down on those back bolts. I don't want any extra pressure in any places it doesn't need it. This will pull this bracket into the block, and then these will go where they go. So that completes those brackets for the bell housing. Now, there was these lifting points, and they were on that old block, so I may put them on. They're I'm pretty sure these holes are 7/16 too, but I just wanted to get these brackets on before. It's one of those things in the back of your mind, you're like, man, I hope I don't forget those. That's all I need. I'm sure they're there for good reason. So we can move on to this other stuff and button this back end up. Once these things are all on, that buttons up the back end for now. Besides, I'll probably put the flywheel from this motor, because it was in a tractor trailer, and put the starter in. And once, you know, with the oil, I want to get it primed up with oil and all. So I'll probably run a pump on it and oil it up with the pump, then run the starter over a few times, and then see if it fires off and all after I go through the injectors. So we can move to the front of the motor and take all this stuff off and put it over here. The throttle and all has got to be changed. I'm going to change it to the air shutoffs and the high idle air, just because that's the way it was plumbed out in the bus. So that's soon come. Soon come. And you know what that means, right? It's coming soon. What are you doing, Bubs? Come on, come up. Come on. Help me finish this video, will you? Thanks for hanging in there till the end of this video. That's the end of the bell housing change. And leave a like, leave a comment, and if you haven't yet, subscribe for Bubble's sake. If anyone out there dealing with this corona stuff, you're watching, hopefully everyone stays safe, and since you're quarantined, you might as well keep watching videos. So I'm going to try to keep putting them out. Thank you. What do you say, Bubs?